how are you differentiating for a child with ADHD who's got a diagnosable disability, because you are required by law to do that. So then I'm not saying you become aggressive and step it up, but it's simply, well, you need to be differentiating. How can we differentiate this, because it's causing him a problem, it's causing you a problem, what are we going to do about it? So then you're looking at it, you're standing a little bit further back and say, what are you as a school doing about this? How can we work it out together? So and people at the parent partnership work are brilliant at saying, well, how are you supporting him with this? Because he will certainly help and support you writing the letter that puts school in a position of understanding what's required of them, and that's incredibly helpful. And she uses the right language, so it's not angry, it's simply this is what you're required to do under this act. So ADHD and empathy, you'll probably find is much later than you would expect for your other kids, but because they're impulsive, so it's actually quite difficult to sort of stop, think, consider somebody else's feelings. I mean, that's a process. So that tends to become more apparent as they lose their hyperactivity towards the back end of their teens. So there is hope, but it probably won't be in the timeframes we're talking about here. And modelling how to be empathic is really important as parents. Completely. A, I'm not interested. B, I don't want to do it anyway. So C, why would I remember it? But I mean, if only they went through that process, that they don't. It's just like that all happens instantly. That's what's like, and it's straight out. So it goes back to what you're saying, which is actually that what you need to do is to make it really small. So what did you have for lunch today? So start off with the things that they might want to talk about, because there's no way they're going to tell you, did you have a bad day and what did you do wrong? Like why would I bother engage with that? So the other things is to use their sensory skills to remind them. So what did it look like? What did it taste like? How did you feel? So you're using the emotional tags that they may have attached to it to help them remember. So, and that's really quite key all the way through life. So, when you do that, how do you feel? Well, perhaps when you feel like that coming in the afternoon, you can do it again, because actually it feels quite good. And so what you're constantly trying to do is to reinforce in a positive way what they do, and that actually then helps them to remember it. So when you come in from school, shoes go in the shoebox here, and then you come and have straight away and have a reward as that. So when the shoes are in the shoebox, then we'll come and do this. So and then you just build on one thing at a time. So you reduce the stress, you make it easy, and then you give it a small reward or a hug or a well done, that's really good, let's have a hot chocolate. So you're not constantly giving ridiculous rewards, but you're taking away the anxiety of wear your shoes, because let's find your shoes and put them back in the box where they should be now. So, and it takes forever to develop it slowly across the whole spectrum of things that you need to develop. But it's a really powerful way to start. And it seems like what you're saying, like break it down, break it down, and break it down. And that's where you start to get a response, and you start to reduce their stress, because in their heads they've got a million things, none of which are really terribly important, apart from the fact they had custard for lunch. So, and that's the thing that they remember, because frankly there's too many other things, and there's no order or sequencing to the thinking that they've got. So they go straight for the thing that they feel strongly about. What tends to happen is that something that you may sort of shut down a little bit about it, something else may have taken over, he may have been really angry, and you see him very stressed that night, but he doesn't want to talk about it, he's not able to talk about it, and then 3 weeks later something else re-triggers that thought, the emotion's slightly less there, he's more able to describe it, and so you hear it, and you're hearing it as if it's happened that day. And that's because you're pulling these feelings forward and they feel quite real once they're back up in your upper memory. It's like if I said to you, oh, remember the first time you had a fantastic experience. If you relive that, actually you can feel it quite strongly, and that's equally true of kids with ADHD, but it's actually quite heightened, so they may feel that even more so. So and in their heads it feels like it happened today, so it's very difficult. I mean, people say they lie. They're quite clever at manipulating, and I think, but sometimes they also just forget when it happened, and they don't really care when it happened. The thing is, the feeling is there and it's strong. So it's not easy, but it's not always intentional. So that the key there is really, I think, to verify anything that they say with anybody else that you can before you act on it. Which one of these, out of these, how many is this you feeling stressed, and how much of this is them feeling stressed? Because actually I would question whether this is kids feeling stressed or youth, shopping, kids having a great time. So it's the same situation as you were saying, that you ideally what you would do is you would agree with the school that for a certain amount of time you break that homework down, you shorten it, and you say, what I want to do is to give him 10 minutes that I know he can achieve, and give them a really good reward for it. So then it starts becoming a positive rather than a negative experience. And okay, he might get a little bit further behind than some of the things, but you ask the teacher, what are the key learning messages from this homework? What are the key messages that you want this child to learn? Is it writing 15 pages, or is it actually how to do 3 plus 6? And I think the important thing is to acknowledge that, to say, actually, he's missing this out for he's got a disability, he needs to go to this group for his ADHD, and actually then penalising him by making him stay later or do it in break or whatever is actually really hard. So how else can we do this? It's not working. How else can we do this? And I think you have to be quite direct with the school and say, if he's going to do that, then actually at home, what we'd like to see is, something that I can really make him feel great about. So what does he want to do? We want to talk about Henry VIII. So, and you've got to write a lesson about it. Well, we don't want to write a lesson about it. What we might be able to do really well is a drawing or a model or a picture of Henry VIII. So for this week, we want to do it this. Is it okay if we do it this way? You're still learning about him, but you're presenting it a different way. And maybe that's another conversation that needs to be had. They have to differentiate. He doesn't want to do it. He's feeling stressed, and therefore you're going to start getting the frustration behaviour, and then they act out. So let's bring it all back down to a point where actually he's achieving and feeling positive about it. And that may mean spending 5 minutes one night doing it, but the model is to get the positive feedback, and then you can start to grow it. Then 10 minutes when he's done it for 1, and then you grow it up. Quite true that actually things that become stressful for parents become stressful for kids because they pick it up. It's just like a dreadful analogy, but people say, animals always can understand your emotions. Well, if animals can understand it, why wouldn't your kids? So if you're going to walk in and if your husband walks in after a bad day of the office, or if your partner or if your friends walking after a bad day, do you know about it? Of course we do, because actually it's very difficult to not show that. And then that immediately has a reaction on you. I mean, if you're hugely empathic, it's like, how's your day? And actually people say, I don't want to talk about it, or give me 5 minutes. If you go and say, for God's sake, what's the matter with you? Why are you behaving like that? I've told you we've got to do this. Then that all you're going to do is escalate that up. And actually what we're trying to do here is bring it down. So rather than being angry, and quite a good way is actually being sad, like, I'm really sorry that you've had that. Do you want some time? We'll talk about it later. Another really nice thing to do with kids is to go through the body outlines. And so you can do it in 2 ways. The body outlines, how does it feel when you're feeling stressed? Does your tummy feel really upset? Do you feel a bit sick? Do you feel like sweaty? Don't want to eat? That could mean that you're feeling a bit stressed about something. Shall we talk about it? And what you can do to calm down. Like, the traditional ones which don't always work are breathing, it's just stroking, breathing, stroking. So blowing bubbles, exactly, distractions. In their feet, lots of things you can do to de-stress them. Identify the stress triggers. Give them techniques for de-stressing them, and then talk to school about the fact that these seem to be causing stress, or a home situation. Well, how can we do it differently so that actually it isn't going to be stress? Do you want to just do it for 5 minutes rather than 20? Shall we? If you do that, then you get a really good reward. Would that help you do it? So you can have some negotiation, but I'm not saying you say, over to you. If you face that situation, and we're going to go to Disneyland Paris. It has to be measurable. It has to be small, but talk to them. So how does and another really good one is turning the sound down on the telly. So let's look at these faces and see what's going on. To show me somebody who looks stressed to you, turn the sound down. So it's not what they're saying, it's about their body language. So they start to look at it as well. So it's making them more aware of how you look and feel when you're stressed. If you've got a dual diagnosis or ASD type traits, then that exercise is going to be almost impossible actually. And what you're trying not to do is cause excess stress. This is pure ADHD type behaviours. So you would handle it very differently with pure ASD. Yeah.